Yeah, so our topic today is environmental apocalypse, which is topic number 4. Environmental apocalypse, which is topic number 4. So the concept of environmental apocalypse refers to a catastrophic collapse of Earth's life-sustaining systems due to human-induced ecological degradation. That because of environmental degradation, it will come a time where the Earth is unable to sustain human life and everything will just collapse. Yeah. Of course, we talk about apocalypse. We are just talking about the end, yeah, the end of life, the end of the earth. Yeah. So unlike historical myths and divine judgment, yeah, the contemporary apocalypse is grounded in tangible realities of climate change, yeah, mass extinction and resource depletion. That is not about of course, as Christians, we believe God will come and end life. That's what we believe as Christians. But in this particular topic, the scholars, fear that, okay, that the end of the world will not come as a result of God coming to end human life, but the earth will just get tired of exploitation, and then everything will just work against human life. That's what we mean by environmental apocalypse. That if we do not take care of our environment, that is how life will end. That is how life will end. So according to Lawrence Boyle, again, the apocalyptic imagination is a double-edged sword. While it risks creating a sense of fatalism, it remains the most powerful rhetorical tool for environmental advocacy. That for us to advocate for environmental conservation, environmental apocalypse, yeah, is the best way, is the pinnacle. That once we refer to this, at least people will take care of the environment. Yeah. Okay, maybe before I continue, what do you think? Is it possible that if we don't take care, we don't look after the ecological environment, then the end of life is likely to occur? What do you think? Yeah. Like looking at the issues, the way things are moving, the question of ozone layer, temperatures are moving up. Like that they're saying, I think for the last about 50 years, the temperature has gone up by about 1.5 degrees. Now, what if it goes up to 10 degrees or 20? What is likely to happen? What is likely to happen? Do you remember lessons on global warming? Those of you who did geography, global warming, in Form 2. We talked about global warming. What do you think of this? Is it possible that life can end because of environmental degradation? Felix, what do you think?
Yes, I hope you can hear me. Hello? Hello?
Felix,
Hello?
continue.
Can you hear me? Yeah, so about that Lawrence Boyle, is it, so when you talk about the environmental apocalypse,
Mm,
the theory that we believe that the end of that is the end of the world is not pegged on things like divine judgment,
mm,
but the climatic change, like the global warming. I can say,
mm.
I think I support the concept because when I was looking at the documentaries based on the extinction of dinosaurs some millions of years ago, even before the existence of human beings,
Mm.
Uh, we have been told that there was the change in the climate. There was a ice node which dropped on Earth and caused a serious warm. That is, there was serious heat, a powerful global warming that led to the extinction of almost all the creatures like dinosaurs and others. And then later on, with the time, came in the human. That is according to that particular story. So I think environmental apocalypse is something maybe started even before, according to the documentary, where they believe that led to the extinction of dinosaurs. Again, to the humans, and the same is believed that when we have got, because we can see, for instance, let us look at even Turkana or Mandera,
Mhm.
where we are finding the cows dying, human beings dying. What of it that covers the whole earth, like the small percentage of the earth which is still green and having a proper system, ecological system.
Mm.
What if if you the drought system, or we have drought, or we have deserts across the whole world? If the whole African continent becomes a desert today, can we have really have life? And what about if the water bodies cannot be sustained anymore? Will we have life? It will lead to the extinction of any living organism on Earth,
Mhm.
and therefore, if it is not taken care of,
Mm.
mm, because it is something practical which we can see in other parts of the country. For instance, Kenya, there are areas where where would hardly human beings are existing in those particular areas because of the environment.
Mm.
So it can lead. There's a time in Mombasa we were having the issue of I think acidic environment which really affected so many people due to the company which was there. And people really sick. Some people started dying until it was raised to the government and the company I think had to be stopped, if I still remember it clearly. So that is just a particular a typical example. What of if we have a numerous such kind of companies giving toxic air to the environment? Then definitely it can lead to the end of the world if it is not taken care of or set into.
Okay, so you agree that what Buell is saying, it's something that um, that's something that is possible, it is feasible, it can happen. Yeah, yeah. Sheila, do you have something to say? Is it possible? So Felix agrees. Sheila, what do you think?
Yes, sir. Well, what Felix is saying is partly true.
Mm,
Yes, that like for the extinction of the dinosaurs and those other beings that have been there, so that human beings could also. But I think
mm-hmm,
uh, I don't think there's a point that you like human life will end because of not taking care of the environment.
mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because
mm,
for example, someone will say like, you know, we are cutting trees and and all those things, but there
mm,
is but more are planted, right?
mm-hmm.
Things like that. So
Yeah, but what
I
if,
really don't.
okay, okay, but
Uh,
what if we cut them and then we don't plant? I think that is the point where Boyle is coming from.
oh
Like, what
yeah.
if we cut them and then we don't plant anything?
Oh, I thought you said eventually human life will end because of what is going on. Okay, if we do that, if we don't take care of the environment at all,
Mm, mm,
then yes, I think human life will end.
mm. If we don't, because look at even Sahara Desert. Do you know initially most of these deserts were not there? Um, but because of long periods of environmental neglect, that's how the desert started spreading. Much as some people say, no, this is how just God created the world. Um, uh, even when you even when you read the Bible very keenly, you will discover that some parts of the world where in the Bible it used to be very green, yeah, Nowadays, it's very dry. Like the whole story of Canaan, like Israel. Israel, the current Israel is actually almost, it's a semi-desert. But if you look at the Bible, the way God was saying, Canaan, a land flowing with honey and milk. So you can see, it's like during the Bible days, Israel was very green. Yeah, it was very green. But nowadays, I'm told they even buy soil. They even import soil from Africa. Hmm? Yeah. Where Lawrence is approaching it, it's from the point of neglect of the environment. That if we just neglect the environment and continue, doing nothing about the ecological environment, yeah, a period is coming when everything will just collapse. Yeah. Of course, he was opposed by his brother, as we are going to see. His brother, also called Boel, is called Frederick Boel, also came up with another point of view, and we will see whether it aligns with what Sheila is trying to say. So it remains the most powerful rhetoric tool for environmental advocacy. The pinnacle of environmental advocacy is environmental apocalypse. That when we now warn people that life will come to an end, it's actually the pinnacle. That's when now, people will now get like personally, I had never even read a lot about these two professors, the two Boels. But by the time I was writing the Armageddon, the story Armageddon, I had not read the Boels. Yeah, yeah. But you see, as I continued studying, I now discovered that, you see, if somebody from another country would think about the same idea that I had imagined even before I graduated with my PhD, that's when I wrote Armageddon, and I remember calling for those stories. In fact, I prepared a choral verse on Armageddon. It started as a choral verse we performed. We did not go far. But the idea was really because I imagined surely much as we talk about just waiting for God to come and end life, if we cannot take care of our environment, our natural environment, the issue of global warming, the cyclones, the floods, yeah, and then of course the deserts. If we just neglect the environment completely, there is a possibility. Of course, theories are not all theories are, maybe true, but it's not something that we can just ignore. We should not just wait for God to come to take the world, and we are neglecting our environment. We neglect it because part of end of life is also it's not just about the return of Jesus Christ as Christians believe. Part of end of life is also death. Yeah, it's also death. If a natural disaster causes massive deaths, for example, if we have higher temperatures, assuming the temperature rises up to 50, I can tell you most of us will die. People will die in large numbers. So as they talk about apocalypse, it's not just about a day when it will just come, boom. And that's why I agree with Frederick Buell, that it's not just about a one-day event. It can take even a span of like 20 years of high temperatures or of floods or cyclones and tsunamis, and life will be brought to an end. So, and that's why it is important for us. If you can plant trees, plant them. Don't just ignore environmental matters. And this is why postmodernism also becomes very important. That life is not just about a homocentric ethos, but we must also care about the natural environment. So here, ELOs analyze how texts employ Buell's tenets of apocalyptic rhetoric, such as the threat of the end, judgment, and pastoral of sentiment to transform an environmental crisis into moral imperative, evaluate how narratives depict transition from sudden apocalypse to Frederick Buell's concept of dwelling in crisis. and then interpret the intersection of postmodern style and eco-critical themes in Armageddon, my story. It's just a short story. It's just a short story, Armageddon. Then now the Boers. So these are two brothers. Yeah, of course, Lawrence Boyle. We looked at his tenets in the previous lessons, but today we will see also a younger brother who tried to extend, but to a great extent brought something new about environmental apocalypse. So, Boyle, first book, Environmental Imagination, defines apocalypse as the single most powerful master metaphor available to environmental movement. That is, this is a very important tool we can use to warn people about the need to conserve the environment. It relies on the threat of a sudden total end to demand immediate moral and political reform. Yeah, that if we do this, we will be able to warn people about the need for environmental reform. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, that this is the most powerful metaphor we can use to warn people. So in contrast, Frederick Boyle, in From Apocalypse to Way of Life, 2003, argues that the era of a future apocalypse is over, that we should not wait for future apocalypse. He suggests that we have entered a phase of dwelling in the crisis, that most of us are dwelling in that crisis of environmental degradation. And in this particular situation, ecological degradation is no longer a looming threat, but a normalized systematic reality. Is this what Sheila was trying to say? That Sheila says that it is not about a single event. Yeah, I think Sheila, you are agreeing with them, with Frederick Boyle, where it cannot be one day. So instead of waiting for a single doomsday event, we are living through a slow apocalypse. Yeah, that is a slow apocalypse. A world of constant oil spills, toxic pollution, climate shifts that have been domesticated into the background of daily life. Yeah. So according to Frederick, this is a crisis that is ongoing, and it's not just about a single day. So, what are the tenets of Lawrence Boyle? According to Lawrence Boyle, there is what we call rhetorical imminence. Yeah, a looming end. There is a looming end, and the end is approaching. So Boyle argues that this rhetoric is designed to create a pressure of time, forcing the reader to view ecological collapse not as a distant possibility, yeah, that a day is approaching because of environmental degradation. And it will come a time when all the effects of global warming will just appear and destroy the earth and end life. And then there's another one is the shift from divine to human agency. That is no longer about divine intervention, but it's about human activity that is leading life to an end. And humanity must therefore take responsibility of the wrong things it has been doing against the environment. It's not about an act of God, but it's about the act of man. It's an indictment of human greed that what we are doing is what is destroying the earth. That is the picture of Lawrence Boyle. As the picture of Lawrence Boyle. Another tenet, the failure of the pastoral. Boyle posits that the environmental apocalypse often represents the shattering of the pastoral idea, where the pastoral represents a harmonious, stable nature, and the apocalyptic narrative depicts a nature that has been pushed beyond its breaking point. Yeah, that is, we have always talked about how beautiful the environment is. It's always stable. It has served us for a long time, and it will remain. That's what we are calling the pastoral ideal. That it has always taken good care of us, and it will continue. So he says, every day things will not just be that way. That kind of ideal will collapse. Everything will collapse because of environmental degradation. Then the paradox of fatalism and reform. Boyle identifies a tension of apocalyptic writing. It can either inspire radical change or lead to paralysis. Some people, when they hear these negative things, they can just give up and not do anything because in any case you have said the world is ending. But others can get motivated to rise up and do something about environmental conservation. Then we have ecocentrism through catastrophe. So the apocalyptic narrative serves to decenter the human. The environment moves from being a background setting to an active dominant agent. Because when we have things like typhoons and tsunamis and cyclones, it means the environment is active and is acting to seek justice for those who have done what? For those who have for a long time exploited it. So through this, it emphasizes ecocentrism, that Mother Nature is not just a setting to be exploited, but it can act to seek justice for the wrong things done against it. So those are the tenets by Boyle. Then we have Frederick Boyle, the younger brother. That is the picture. I tried to look for other pictures, but this is the best picture I found for the younger brother. So for him, the first tenet is dwelling in crisis. Boyle's primary tenet is that the apocalypse is no longer a looming endpoint, but has become a permanent condition of modern life. It's a permanent condition of modern life, that this is how we are living. The cyclones will come, the typhoons will come, the floods will come, the change in rain seasons will come, and things will just continue. And therefore, he's trying to suggest that people will just die slowly. It's not about a single day. And perhaps to a great extent is agreeing what Sheila was trying to say. We have moved from anticipating a sudden catastrophe to dwelling within a state of perpetual environmental degradation. But even if he says this, nowadays things are changing faster. Seasons have changed. Like when I was growing up in Western Province, we did not have two seasons of rain. The other one was too short to plant anything. But nowadays, when I go to Western, you can grow even 3 times. Rain comes, like there was a year in 2019, there was a lot of rain. But then I was in Naivasha, and the rain started falling around September. By the time COVID came in May, it was still raining. And that was not the rain season. For the first time in Naivasha, in very dry places, people are able to plant even maize and all that. So seasons are changing very fast. So we cannot just say maybe we'll just get used to it. So this shift transforms apocalypse from a singular event into a continuous lived experience. So according to Frederick, apocalypse is a continuous lived experience. Another, tenet is domestication of disaster. As environmental crises like oil spills, toxic pollution, and climate shifts become frequent, they are domesticated or normalized. It just becomes normal. Disasters become normal. That is according to Frederick. That is just so apocalypse is just normal, but it gets normalized. But because it's apocalypse, it is a what? A continuous, gradual. It's a gradual destruction of life. That's what he's trying to say. Then the politics of denial and contestation. That as days go by, governments will have what we call disinformation industry. Governments and the people will have disinformation industry that arose in the 1970s to do what? To try and have a crowded square of information where scientific warnings are met with a lot of doubt. People will try to deconstruct. Was it Trump who said the issue of climate change is a hoax? It is a Chinese hoax to destroy the economy of the United States. That is what Frederick is trying to say. That's what he refers to as this disinformation industry. People will doubt the issue of climate change and environmental degradation. But this is because they have never experienced. Someone like Trump, he can shout like that because he has never experienced a harsh environment. When I lived in Northeastern for 7 years, I developed a lot of interest in environmental studies. Yeah. We could travel long distances. You could not see even a tree, a lot of sand. And the whole of Mandera, there is no river. There's only one river on the boundary between Somalia and Kenya. It's called River Dua. Is it I've forgotten the name. Is it Duao or whatever? And I did not like that ecological environment. So you can manufacture a lot of lies. You can have a crowded square of information, disinformation industry, because you have never experienced a hostile environment. Sometimes we couldn't sleep. Sometimes by 12 midnight, it is so hot. The temperature is as high as 41 degrees centigrade, and you cannot have a blanket in Northeastern. When I arrived there with a blanket, people laughed at me, yeah, because you just sleep in a sheet and you sweat, yeah. Sometimes even the clothes, you cannot wear clothes just because of a hostile environment. And this is how I developed interest in environmental studies and also post-colonial studies because of the tribalism I experienced in that particular region. That's how I also developed interest in post-colonial studies. So, um, so I agree with Frederick there. The politics of denial and contestation. We want to contest these things, maybe because of short economic gains by cutting trees. And we can see, especially in Donald Trump, he's reviving coal industries, heavy industries that pollute the environment. I think he pulled out of the Paris Agreement and all that. And that is what Frederick is calling disinformation industry. Then a crisis, a social and cultural change. So environmental crisis is not just a biological or a physical event. It is a profound social transformation. So Boyle posits that the ecological way of life alters human identity, governance, and culture. That because of these challenges, even the governance will change, culture will change, human identity will change. Like you have so many crises and people start dying in large numbers. You will discover that most governments will stop investing in a weapon industry and the army. and we'll have more environmental advocates. And I'm sure the Ministry of Environment will be the most superior ministry. So things will change because of environmental crisis. Then from prophecy to risk management. And now that Frederick is supporting what Sheila is saying, is no longer about prophecy. It's no longer about when this day will come, but it's about our ability to manage, the environment, the risks of environmental degradation. So it's no longer, according to him, it's no longer about prophecy to risk management, but it is about, it's not a prophecy, but it's about risk management, ability to manage the environment at present. So there is a novel called The Road by Comarc MacCarthy. By Comarc MacCarthy. So this novel exhibits the tenets of Lawrence Boyle, and so I will share it with you. But this is not for, it's not a core text, but it's just good. It enables us to understand that we are not just talking about environmental issues, but it is in literary studies. So because for us in literature, it's all about texts, how theory applies to texts. So in this novel, um, it is about an unnamed father and son who traverse a desolate, ash-covered American landscape following an unspecified global cataclysm. So the world is a frigid, gray void where civilization has collapsed. Yeah, and because of neglect of the environment, civilization has collapsed, leaving only blood cults and cannibals behind. And then, driven by a primal instinct to survive, these cannibals head south toward the coast. I think the protagonists, they move south toward the coast, pushing a shopping cart filled with meager scavenged supplies. Amidst the pervasive despair and starvation, the father struggles, to preserve his son's humanity, teaching him to carry the fire. So it's a haunting, minimalist exploration of paternal love in the face of absolute extinction. Yeah. So the writer tries to bring out Buell's what? Buell's concept of environmental apocalypse. And that's why we are saying if we don't take care of the environment, this is where we are heading. As writers, we must warn society. And when we get a theory like Buell's, writers, we can warn society. And when I wrote my story Armageddon, for example, I was just trying to warn the world, but I never knew there are such theories. And I'm happy that human beings, I think we are similar, even the way we think. So in this story, The Road, we have the rhetoric imminence. Yeah. So in the road, there is a looming end which has already arrived. Yet the narrative maintains a sense of imminence through the protagonist's constant proximity to death. Yeah. So everything has been destroyed, there is no life, and they're just waiting for death. So Boyle's tenet of pressure of time is felt in the ticking clock of starvation and the bitter winter. It's a lot of winter, and they have nothing to eat. So the end is not a single event, but a series of closing doors, forcing the character. So you can see he is also trying to accommodate the ideas of Frederick Boyle, that the end is not just a single, but a series of events. Yeah. For example, we have so many cyclones attacking here. We have tsunamis. We have a lot of floods, and then desertification here and there, very strong winds. Life will just be eradicated gradually. And that's what Frederick Boyle says. And you can see in The Road, the same idea is being repeated. And then the shift from divine to human agency. And this is another tenet so we are applying Boyle's tenets on The Road, the book called The Road. So while the cause of the catastrophe is never named, the landscape, which is charred, silent, and littered with the debris of consumerism, suggests a human-induced failure. That environmental apocalypse will not be caused by a divine interruption, but by human agency, human activities. our wrong decisions. So because of the wrong decisions, the writer suggests that these wrong decisions have led to a catastrophic collapse of the environment in Comarc's there, or MacCarthy's The Road. So MacCarthy removes divine intervention entirely. There is no God to save the pilgrims. Instead, the moral weight rests on human agency, the father's choice to remain the good guys or succumb to cannibalism. Because now there is nothing else to eat at the end. They will just end up eating each other. Then the failure of the pastoral also appears in this story. Boyle's shattering of the pastoral is absolute here. And the traditional American landscape of abundance is replaced by the gray snow and the dead trees. Yeah, the boy asks about the pastoral world of the past, birds, color, and greenery. This is a time like this, a novel I'm writing now. It's called Apocalypse 3030. And I never knew these things, by the way. Yeah. I've been thinking about this question of apocalypse. There's a manuscript I'm working on now. It is called Apocalypse 3030. And these things that the Buell is talking about, they're already in my novel, and I had not even read around this. So human beings are similar. So the whole question of yeah, that the environment is not necessarily permanent. It can collapse. It can collapse. It can collapse. Don't just think you'll be eating those quavers and mangoes every morning. You'll be taking that water. There are places where water is a booming business. Yeah, water is a booming business. To get clean water is not easy. Like in Northeastern, I could see some places where people just take water from the road, the stagnant water on the road. We could just light there, and because people are so thirsty, they have no water, they would just take, water on the road. Yeah. And that's when I discovered. For a long time, I used to despise Western province. But when I reached that place, I started valuing my homeland. So it can collapse. It can collapse. Yeah. So the father can only provide memories of nature. Like if you continue destroying the environment, like in my novel Apocalypse, my characters just remember. They just remember those days. Yeah, when they could see the green grass. Yeah. So that's what we are calling the pastoral. Don't think that things will just remain as they are. Then eco-criticism through a catastrophe, ecocentrism through catastrophe. MacCarthy's minimalist style decenters the human experience. The harsh and the cold do not care about the father's love or the boy's innocence. Boyle's tenet of ecocentrism is achieved through the total dominance of the dying planet. Yeah, the total dominance of the dying planet. The environment is the protagonist that dictates the narrative pace, survival, and eventual extinction of the human spirit. Yeah. So through Apocalypse, we see how the environment becomes very active, very active. And we should start looking at it that way if we want to conserve it. And the environment is not just a setting behind us to give us what we need. No, it is active. And sometimes, if we exploit it so much, it can revenge. It can be active and can destroy life and destroy life. So discuss Buell's aspects of apocalypse with reference to the Armageddon. Yeah, make a presentation to the class. Make a presentation to the class. So that's the activity I think that was there, and of course that's the end. So that's why the Armageddon now is a very important. That's a very important book. We need to read the story. Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think of Frederick? What Frederick says? I think Sheila is not here. Maybe before I finish, I may want to share something a bit on the portal. But what do you think of Frederick Boyle. What do you think of Frederick Boyle? That it is about we are dwelling in a crisis. We cannot wait for a single day. It's also, of course, I have not applied it on the book focused on Lawrence. Lawrence is more renowned, but Frederick, I think, also has a point. Maybe what do you think of Frederick's tenets? Dwelling in crisis, domestication of disaster. These are things that are just with us, and it's a gradual process of degradation and destruction. The politics of denial and contestation, crisis, social and cultural change. Yes, you can maybe say something before we end. Hello?
Yes, I was still, I hope you can hear me.
Hello?
Yes, can you get me?
Yeah, speak up.
Yeah, so I was still looking into Lawrence Wells and the Frederick Wells. And looking at Frederick Wells from Apocalypse, which is another talks of to a way of life. Make me like yes, he's talking of things like a point when we say I've just discovered that Frederick Well is talking of why do I to me it sounds like Lawrence Well was practically was majorly focusing on or he was practically trying to warn people that if you don't destroy, if you don't keep the environment, maintain the ecological system by planting either trees and maintaining our rivers and lakes, also intoxicating them with substances which may even kill the animals in the lake. Then the human life, not only the human life, but the humans, the animals, and the plants will instantly end if we like cutting the trees and without planting. Will instantly destroy the whole earth. Humans will not have food. The lake will be ruined and cannot sustain life anymore, and life will end. To me, he was trying to use this particular ideology to quickly make humans feel that we need to do something about our environment. And then later on, we find Frederick Well, who is talking about from the apocalypse, because maybe he felt like the apocalypse will scare humans. And then he's now coming with ways of life. That is normal for us to have got the environmental degradation. It is normal for us to have got the oil, ruining the lake and the animals, or the fish, all the animals in the water body die gradually. The environment is integrated very gradually, but life will not end immediately. To me, British Well is just creating because I don't support. I find it hard to buy this idea because what was the objective of Lawrence Boyle in writing the environmental imagination in 1995? Because for us, for human beings to take a quick action, then you must create something which poses like a danger to their own extinction. And that is why Lawrence Boyle talks about apocalypse. I can say yes, it was like a little bit of is it an exaggeration, Kidogo, but you find that it's something realistic. It can happen if you don't take care of it. But Frederick Buell, is trying to normalize that we will not die today, but this is something which is normal and it will continue happening, and maybe you may die later. And that is what is happening currently. That is what I've picked from the two. And that is why I take my side with Lawrence Buell. Because Frederick Buell will maintain the normal way of the current human. It is normal for us to have an environmental degradation. We talk about it. We have conferences. We will plant trees, and then things continue. We come up to industry. It destroys the environment. We talk of, oh, next time we will plant more trees, and it becomes our way of life. Yes.
Okay, yeah, much as he tries to say that governance will change, whatever, but I agree with you that because when he says things get normalized, it's like he's trying to say that people will just become tolerant to the effects of climate change.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, but because when you look at the two, it's like Lawrence is more serious and he's warning us, yeah, against, yeah, exploitation of the ecological environment. But if you look at Frederick, yeah, I think he tries to compromise, but we'll read him more and see. We'll read him more and see. Yeah, so maybe at this point, let me just go to the portal a bit and see. Let me see if we can look at the portal just shortly before we end. Let me go to the portal. Um, so let me share this. So this is now our course. This is our course. So if you introduction, now the meaning. So you can see, do you see the meaning of eco-criticism? Do you see this?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I can see.
So the fact that it is not hidden, if I have done what? If I've restricted it, you will see the words here restricted from or hidden from learners. But the way it shows it is not hidden from you. So you come here. So there is this thing about completion. Student must. Do you see this? Student must.
Yes.
Yeah, student must view or spend at least 5 minutes on this activity. Go through activity to the end. So these are some of the conditions. So for example, unless you complete, is it session? This is session 2. Let me just check. So you must at least, you cannot just proceed until you have completed. You have completed. So this is session 1. So what are the conditions for completion? You must view, spend at least 5 minutes on this activity. That is session 1. Go through the activity to to the end before you. So let's see. So that is the meaning of criticism. So you must read this, at least look at it. Then you will not see the progress bar because you can't edit this. Okay, let's see next section. Okay, it has opened for you. So watch the following video. So you must watch this video and then explain 4 major concepts of eco-criticism. So after you have watched, you comment here. Otherwise, you will not move to the next section. And that's why I was saying, at least look at it, write something here. There are those I will not, but ideally, this is how this course is supposed to be assessed. You are supposed to do all these activities and then you are graded according to what you have done for this by looking at all those activities. Because this is not a face-to-face lesson where you do 3 cards. No. You are supposed to do those activities and then we use those activities to grade you out of 40. But later on, in fact, as we continue, because this is a purely online unit, later on, you will not be coming here to do a face-to-face exam. You will be sent an exam to do it from where you are. In fact, they have done piloting and it has gone through. So very soon they will make a decision on all online courses. But for now, we will communicate to you, we'll see. But try, and when you now respond, you will understand the content better. In fact, I'm supposed to teach you for only 1 hour, and then you go, you watch those videos, you do those activities. That's how you learn. And then there are those books you will read, but I will direct you. If the books are so many, I will pick a few of those activities and then grade you. But ideally, you are supposed to do all those activities. Now, like now watching the video, it will enable you to understand the concept better, you see. That's why that video is there for you to. So unless you do this one, you cannot move to the next. So sometimes when you are unable to proceed, it's not because it is hidden from you. It's because there are certain activities you have not attempted. I hope I'm clear up to that point. So go through, do the activities, so that any question, so that you get to understand. I hope you received the course outlines with the co-reading texts. Sheila, did you receive? All right. If there is no question, I wish to end there. I wish to end the class there. Thank you for attending, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Mm.